Welcome to another episode of Love It to Shove It. This is the talk show where we are talking about love and relationships and how do we have better relationships with ourselves and with our partners. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, welcome. My name is Irina Portnova, and I'm all about helping you how to manifest that partner, how to attract the best partner that you are desiring because we all can do so. And I'm here with my co host, Bruno Gill. Bruno.
Mm. Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Bruno. I am a self-love coach, and I work primarily with women as well, um, in order for them to become more confident and more expressive and more authentic, and also more um, love themselves a bit more, of course. Yes. So that is what I do. Yep.
All right. So today is a very interesting topic because we are going to talk about the silent punishment. And this
Mm.
is the question that I wanted to ask everyone in the audience. Have you ever said nothing is wrong when everything was wrong? Maybe you stopped texting back. Maybe your answers became shorter. Maybe you went quiet and waited for your partner to notice. Not because you didn't care, but because you cared so much that you didn't know how to say what was really happening. And here is the tricky part: silence often looks like strength on the outside, but underneath, it's usually hurt. It could be disappointment, it could be fear, it could be feeling unseen. It's wanting connection while at the same time pulling away from it. So today we are talking about the silent punishment, why we do it, what it actually costs us, and how to create the connection without making our partner guessing. So, I wanted to start by talking about why silence is often used as a form of protection, not communication. Because for many people, they don't go silent because they are trying to be cruel, they go silent because they don't feel safe. Imagine when your partner forgets something important to you. Maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's a commitment that they made, maybe a conversation you've had several times before. And inside of you, these feelings started to bubble: the feelings of hurt, the feelings of disappointment, the feelings of unimportant. But instead of saying that I'm hurt, you say nothing. Why? Because that silence feels safer than being vulnerable. And if you don't speak up, you don't risk. You don't risk of being dismissed. You do not risk of being misunderstood. You do not risk of being told you are overreacting. So the problem is that silence protects your heart temporarily while preventing your partner from understanding what's actually happening. And I have this great tool to share. We can always replace silence with honesty. And instead of being quiet, say, I don't know how to talk about this yet, but I know I'm hurt. And that actually creates the connection without requiring a perfect conversation. Bruno, what is your take on that?
Yeah. Well, my take is I feel like a lot of times, like for example, me, right? As a man, sometimes I'm silent not because I don't want to speak, with someone about it. I just don't want them to be a part of the problem. Because I feel like the moment I speak about it to somebody, now they're a part of the problem. You know, like now they have to tolerate me and hear me. Nobody wants to do that. Like people don't like people don't want to tolerate my problems. It's like, and all I heard as well, like when I was young, is like, bro, just, like get a grip. It's like whatever, like that's not a massive problem. Like no, my problems are bigger than yours. I always had people in my life, like, they didn't tell me that with words, but what they meant was my problems are bigger than yours. So, get a grip. It's not that big of a deal, Jesus. I'm going through this myself. So I kind of like I've kind of took that as a positive, and I was like, okay, fine, your problems are not bigger than mine, but I'll tell you what though, I can't count on you, and so I'm going to take that as a positive to learn how to rely on myself a lot more, because there's positives and negatives to always opening up to people about it. And the problem is that if you keep opening up to people every single time, you lose the ability to not be able to not fix your problem, right? Like you lose the ability to fix your problem by yourself and find solutions by yourself if you're always dependent on speaking to somebody first about it, right? And that is a great way to more and more and more stop relying on to tell like on telling people your problems, because you know because a lot of times I was like, oh well, this was me before I was like, ah, you know if somebody came to me with their problems, I'd listen to them. So you know people should also listen to my problems, because if I do that to people do that with me as well. That's not true. But that's not true whatsoever, um that's not true whatsoever. So the biggest quality for me in that is that you learn how to rely on yourself a lot more. The only problem is that you you lose that sense of connection to people, right? And if we're talking about, obviously, partners, it's like, if I have a partner, I can talk about my problems, but at the same time, I don't want to talk about my problems. I don't want to talk about my problems when I have a partner, because it doesn't fix anything. Like, the quicker I can solve the problem, the less the problem I have to speak about. And then we can get on to speak about the great things and happy things and good things. Like, of course, eventually you're gonna have to speak about things that are not so happy, but the less we can do that, the better, right? And plus, like, I'm a very, 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 I'm very, very good on that, because I'm the first one to say that my problems are not yours. If you want to help me, fine, no problem, but my problem is my problem, and I'll fix it on my own. And I just want you to be fine with it. I don't want you to stress. I don't want you to worry, and I'll just fix it on my own. You know, yeah, maybe if I have a partner who genuinely cares, maybe she'll be like, maybe she'll be like, maybe she'll be like, well, I just wish that I could help you a little bit more, or I wish you just maybe spoke a little bit more about, your problems with me. It's fine. But as much as that sounds super nice, the reality is that, you know, she could never fix my problem. Simple. Like, if that problem happened to me, it's for me to fix. And as much as you'd like to fix that problem, you couldn't. You can't fix that problem. And
Well,
yeah,
are you done? Can I say
yeah, yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, the way I look at it, I totally agree with you 100% that our problem can't be solved by anybody by ourselves. However, the partnership is all about even just, holding the space for another person, to be there for them, because just the presence, just to hold in the space, and just by asking if everything is okay, if like if there is anything I can do, even if you feel there is nothing can be done, that's what the partnership is all about. Otherwise, why would you want to be with another person? I mean, again, like we can have different views on that, but this is the way that I look at the partnership, right? It's not
Right.
necessarily solving somebody's problem, but always be the first one to, like come out and ask, like, is there anything I can help you with, right? So again, because sometimes the relationship can become one-sided when the person always feels hurt, but they do not realize how they hurt their partner. So it's also another
Mhm.
thing to address. So why
Yep.
emotional withdrawal creates distance instead of understanding? Because when people upset, they often believe that silence will send a message, and it does, just not the message that we think. For example, when one partner becomes distant after the argument, they are hoping that their partner will notice, and instead of person starts, wondering, are they mad at me? Do they still love me? Should I give them space? Am I making things worse? And instead of creating that understanding, withdrawal creates confusion. And the silent person feels unseen while the receiving partner feels shut out. And now both people feel disconnected because, again, we were talking about so many episodes that connection only happens when there is a communication, right? So once everybody is silent, that's exactly what disconnection happens. And the very thing that each person wants, the connection, moves further away. So this is like a very interesting point, and it's for everyone who is listening, just to really pay attention and see what is, in my relationship, what kind of emotional withdrawal I'm experiencing with the partner, because there is always a way to work through things, to talk through the things and actually make them better. Because otherwise, what's the point to stay in this kind of connection, right? When we are not feeling understood, when we are feeling hurt and just dismissed. So, the best tool for that could be something that we want to name instead of disappearing, right? Name our state, saying, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I need a little time to process, or I want to talk about this later. And again, if somebody listens and say, oh my God, I could never say that, then the question is, are you with the right partner? Because when you are with the right person, that's exactly, the safety is there and you can actually open up and you can actually talk about it. If you cannot talk about it, then it means it's not your person. But again, everybody's choosing what's best for them, but this is exactly what, the sign can be. And sometimes needing space is healthy, but punishment is different.
Mm-hmm.
Space and punishment can look similar on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
but internally they are completely different. Healthy space could look like, I need a moment so I can come back better. And the punishment says, I want you to feel what I feel. And imagine when the couple has the argument. One
Mm-hmm.
partner says, I'm upset and I need an hour to clear my head. Can we talk after dinner? This is the healthy space. Now imagine the partner disappears, doesn't say anything, and just becomes cold,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't text, doesn't say anything, leave the other person guessing. This is not a space, that's emotional distance. And the difference in these two scenarios is the intention. Because the first one, in the healthy scenario, this is used for the regulation, while the other one is used for the impact.
Yeah.
So my invitation is to use the tool of create a relationship agreement around taking space. For instance, when either of the partners needs time, they communicate it and agree on how does it actually look like, right? So the other person doesn't worry, and there is more space for safety. Bruno, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think it was very nice. Um, Obviously, one thing is, in a healthy manner, is saying, "Look, I just need some space. We'll talk after dinner or lunch, or I'm just gonna go for a walk and we'll talk after, right, or something." Another thing
Mm-hmm.
is, another thing is saying, not saying actually. Another thing is not saying anything, just like
Mm-hmm.
going completely silent and cold, and I want you to feel what I'm feeling or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's ways to fixing things, of course. Um, Everybody makes mistakes. I've obviously done my fair share of them, and I'm so young still. I can't even imagine how many more I'm gonna do. But as long as I fix my own shit, that's fine. That's all it really matters. Um, but um, but yeah, I think that you know going cold and staying silent is not a good thing because you always want to maintain the connection, right? And as much as a lot of times you don't want to speak about anything, it's like it's understanding that whatever you're feeling right now is not gonna whatever you're feeling right now, whatever anger, whatever rage, whatever frustration you're feeling right now with your partner is not gonna last forever, right? Because you're not supposed to go to bed upset at each other. You know,
Mm,
that's what it is.
so true.
Um, right? Yeah, obviously, you're not supposed to. I mean, you can try that, but I don't think that's a very good idea, anyways. Um, and I think at the end of the day, conflict resolution in relationships is so important, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the opposite of the silent punishment or any punishment is conflict resolution, right? Is you understanding how to fix or avoid, right? Having the right tools to avoid any verbal punishment, um, or any emotional punishment, or like spiritual or soulful punishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you understand and you know what to do, then you don't have to you don't have to feed off anything. You don't have to feed off. You don't have to you don't have to continue feeding the problem because that's what couples do or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Couples who feed problems and they only do that, they're not going to last very long. They're not really going to last very long because there's no way anybody's fine. There's just no way anybody's fine with like not fixing their problems for years and years and years and years to come because that has to be like the one of the most miserable and like very 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 like unwanted relationships ever. And you don't have to stay in a relationship. You don't have to stay in anything that you don't want to stay in, right? So at the end of the day, you are your highest authority, as Irina loves to say. You are your own highest authority, right? And and you have power over your choices. And in no means you have to make people feel what you felt and just go cold. And in no means whatsoever, if you're on the other side, you have to tolerate that too, because you don't, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
ways to fixing your problems with your partners. Like if this is like random people, well, random people don't fucking matter. They're random people. Who gives a shit? But somebody that you go to a home every single day, somebody you sleep with, somebody you have kids with as well. Um, yeah. So you know, people that are important to you and for you deserve that you put in the effort. You deserve it because you don't put in the effort for people that are not important to you. You put in the effort for people that are important to you, that are important for you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So the
Totally.
best way to show that you give a shit, the best way to show that you care, the best way to show that you are a different person is is changing, changing your behavior pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
and being more calm, being more peaceful, which I work on that every single day as well. I had a like even today. I made a massive mistake in the morning to start off the day, and I got called for that. And even if people did deserve that, then still it doesn't mean anything, right? Um, but and it's very easy. Like for example, right now, like I'm overwhelmed, I am burned out a bit. I feel very, very empty within myself, which tends to be good as well. Because if you're empty, then if you feel like drained or empty, that means that you can call in, you can start calling in better things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and yeah, you can start calling in like better things and stuff like that, which is good. And and yeah, so I'm gonna shut up because I'm just like talking over like my throat almost. And I'm gonna give the stage to Irina, but then again, my point is, look, conflict resolution is very important, super important.
Mm-hmm.
With the right conflict resolution, there's no silent punishment, there's no punishment whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
That's point number one. Point number two is, if you really like the person or if you want to build something with the person, then you have to make the effort.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to shut your mouth before you say something that like you regret, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to learn the techniques for that. Simple, right? You have to go for a walk so you can like relax. Okay, it's just honestly, it's not fucking worth it. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it at all. Yep.
All right, so I just wanted to bring us home. So I wanted to talk about why unspoken expectations often create disappointment and resentment, because one of the biggest sources of silent punishment is unmet expectations. And the most important, interesting thing is that these expectations were never discussed. So imagine you expect your partner to check in when you've had a successful day and they don't. You spend that evening feeling hurt and they are completely unaware anything why everything is wrong. Now that resentment starts building, not because they intentionally hurt you, but because they didn't know the rule. And many couples carry invisible expectations about communication, about affection, about time together, about holidays, families, support. What feels obvious to one person may never occur to the other. So it's super, super important to use the tool of turn expectations into conversations. So instead of saying they should know, try something that makes me feel loved is when you check in with me after a big day, right? Because once we voice it out,
Mm,
once we communicate, that's
mhm,
actually creating the opportunity for clarity, because assumptions create the disappointments. And
mm,
actually, how does that healthy relationship looks like when people talk through the issues instead of giving the silent treatment?
mhm,
The strongest couples aren't the ones who never get hurt or never argue. They are the ones who learn how to communicate when they are. Because silence may stop a fight, but it rarely solves the issue. So imagine two couples. First couple, one person goes quiet, the other person guesses. Resentment starts to build and nothing gets resolved. And another couple where one person says, I felt hurt when that happened. And the conversation isn't perfect. Maybe it's awkward, maybe it's emotional, but now there is a path forward. So connection begins where honesty starts, not where silence continues. So a great tool that I can give for that is use feeling based communication. Instead of saying you never care, Try when that happened, I felt unimportant. So instead of attacking the person, you are revealing the experience. And that's where the real understanding begins. Bruno, do you want to add something before I close?
Not really. No. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was really good. I think you touched on very good points. Yeah, I think it was really good. I think it was great. I think it was fantastic. Yeah, more conflict resolution, like more tools on that. I think it's really nice understanding that, putting the effort in. You know that frustration you're feeling in regards to obviously whatever it is. We're all different.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever frustration you're feeling, um, it's not going to last forever. It's something that it's an emotion. It's like happiness, right? Whether if it's
Mm-hmm.
good or bad, it comes and it goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you try to calm yourself down, right? Like whatever
Mm-hmm.
frustration you're feeling, it's very intense. It literally looks like it's like time stops and the only thing you feel is that, and it's like it's almost like it's happening now, 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 now. Sometimes it's good to take a back. I know it's easier to speak than to do. 100%. And
Absolutely.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like the best example on that. I'm like I am the best example on that. The best example. Honestly, I had to do some crazy anger management stuff because I was like, yeah. Um, but like, yeah, but but the best thing to do really is just take a back seat, take a deep breath, because no matter how angry you are, sometimes we get so angry that we lose sense of reality. Like we lose sense of ourselves. I once got so angry, I was like, fuck, like I have never, I would have never done that. Like I never thought I'd go that far. And then you're like, oh my gosh, shit, like what have I become? What have I become? What the fuck? Like what is this shit? It's like so like and also where that's gonna take you, right? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you keep having the same results because you're angry, because you're frustrated or whatever, you know where that's gonna lead you. And whatever you win on the short term, on the long term, you ain't winning, you're only losing, right? So sometimes taking a back seat, it's a win. It's a massive win. It's a massive,
Mm-hmm.
massive, massive win. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say hi to Crystalline and thank you so much for stopping by. Yes, definitely watch the replay. It's a great episode. So I just want to close with the thought that silence often feels powerful, but connection is more powerful. Because behind most silent treatment is a person who wants to be understood. And behind most confusion is a partner who never got the chance. So the goal isn't to never need space. The goal is to stop making people guess what your heart is trying to say. Because healthy love isn't built through silence and it's built through courageous conversations. Again, communication, conversation is super important. And if you do not have it right now in your partnership, seek the help, seek the guidance, because that's exactly what we are here for. We all can tap to better communication, to better relationship, and to improve the connections. All right. Thank you so much, Bruno. That was a great conversation. For everybody who liked it, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also share this episode if something resonated with you or if you know somebody who could have benefited from that. We would appreciate it because we are learning on this
Hmm.
journey together. We are also not perfect. We are also going through our things. That's why
Yep.
we have these conversations because there is some healing that's happening in real time. So we know that these topics are also important for many who are tuning in. All right. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.